your host, Christene Marie. I am so grateful right now to be getting sunlight. I'm literally sitting outside. I flew yesterday to escape the cold weather taking place on the East Coast. And so I'm grateful it's not so warm outside, but it's bright sunshine and I can actually sit outside. So grateful to be sitting in the sunlight and starting my morning with you. I am going to be reading through A Course in Miracles, the 23 lessons leading up to this morning's lesson on January 24th. And so with that, I will go ahead and get started. Lesson 1. Nothing I see in this room means anything. Lesson 2. I have given everything I see in this room all of the meaning that it has for me. Lesson 3. I do not understand anything I see in this room. These thoughts do not mean anything. Lesson 4. Lesson 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. Lesson 6. I am upset because I see something that is not there. Lesson 7. I see only the past. Lesson 8. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Lesson 9. I see nothing as it is now. Lesson 10. My thoughts do not mean anything. Lesson 11. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Lesson 12. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Lesson 13. A meaningless world engenders fear. Lesson 14. God did not create a meaningless world. Lesson 15. My thoughts are images that I have made. Lesson 16, I have no neutral thoughts. Lesson 17, I see no neutral things. Lesson 18, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. Lesson 19, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Lesson 20, I am determined to see. Lesson 21, I am determined to see things differently. Lesson 22, what I see is a form of vengeance. Lesson 23, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Lesson 24, I do not perceive my own best interests. In no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the results. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. It is inevitable, then, that you will not serve your own best interests, yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are. If you realized that you do not perceive your own best interests, you could be taught what they are. But in the presence of your conviction that you do know what they are, you cannot learn. The idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. The exercises for today require much more honesty than you are accustomed to using. A few subjects, honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods which should be undertaken today, will be more helpful than a more cursory examination of a large number. 2 minutes are suggested for each of the mind-searching periods which the exercises involve. The practice period should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind with closed eyes for unresolved situation about which you are currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome you want. You will quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also that these goals are on different levels and often in conflict. In applying the idea for today, name each situation that occurs to you, and then enumerate carefully as many goals as possible that you would like to be met in its resolution. The form of each application should be roughly as follows. In the situation involving blank, I would like blank to happen and blank to happen, and so on. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as may honestly occur to you, even if some of them do not appear to be directly related to the situation and even to be inherent in it at all. If these exercises are done properly, you will quickly recognize that you are making a large number of demands of the situation which have nothing to do with it. You will also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however the situation turns out. After covering the list of as many hoped for goals as possible, for each unresolved situation that crosses your mind, say to yourself, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation, and go on to the next. Hot dog. Wow. I don't know at what point you all tuned into this. Also, for those of you who can see, my nail broke so bad yesterday. I know I'm in terrible lighting, but I just got distracted by seeing my hand on my chest, and then I remembered my terrible nail. I need to get my nail fixed today. This lesson, I'm just going to repeat the lesson itself. I do not perceive my own best interests. Y'all, I ended up chuckling when I read this because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so true. Oh my gosh. And it brought me back to a moment, which I'll share with you in just a moment, but I want to repeat what she said that made me like, oh my gosh. Okay. So the practice periods today should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind with closed eyes for unresolved situations about which you are currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome you want. You will quickly realize you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also that these goals are on different levels and often in conflict. Y'all, this is such a humbling experience for me. And frankly, I wonder for you too. I had a moment back, gosh, this was a year ago, when I first started really using ChatGPT for personal uses. I had a hard conversation with someone in my family, actually, where I had been hurt by something that they did. I recorded the conversation because, frankly, after, living 10 plus years, very disconnected from intuition and my own voice, like I didn't have a cultivated relationship with myself. And so I started recording conversations for my own, almost like my own, yes, self-protection, but also to serve as a mirror. Like, where am I being inconsistent? Where am I not being actually honest? Where am I operating on default or autopilot rather than truly from the integrity of what's going on inside of me? So I started recording these conversations. And now that I have had ChatGPT, I took the transcript from the conversation, uploaded it into ChatGPT, and I didn't say who the conversation was between, because so often ChatGPT is actually biased towards us. For those of you who don't know and think it's purely objective, it's not. It's definitely on our side. So I didn't say it was between me and somebody else. I just said these are two people. And I gave it the transcript and I asked it to do a diagnosis because I walked away from it having a certain impression. I asked ChatGPT to tell me where party A, which was me, was inconsistent in its requests and in what that person party A shared. And what I saw reflected back to me was two very conflicting goals of my relationship with this person. One, I wanted freedom. I wanted to know that I could have flexibility in relationship. I could move and flow and move plans around and they would love me forever. And then I also saw that I wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be included in everything. So it's like I wanted to have my cake and eat it too in the most obvious ways that I didn't see back. So I wanted freedom and I wanted to be wanted, which that's a hard thing for someone else to balance. Like, oh, I really want you to come and do whatever you want. No problem. Like, no strings attached. That's not normal relationships. Actually, that's probably not even characteristic of a healthy one, to be so like unattached to somebody where we don't care if they show up, but then also to really want them there. That's really a conflict of goals. And so I was reminded of that as I'm reading this, that so often what we say that we want is so layered, and what even we're not even saying that we want. Like, a lot of times we don't actually take the time to examine, what do I want in the first place? And then what are all like the sub layers and implications of what that desire is, and where are they in conflict? So then we're effectively asking people to come and meet us in a certain place where we ourselves can't even fulfill on our own desires. We can't even meet our own needs, how much less so someone else. And so this lesson today is so, so important. Y'all, I really encourage this because frankly, I faced the consequence of it yesterday. Yesterday's lesson was, here it is. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I read that. And then right after I did A Course in Miracles, the show with you yesterday morning, I forgot to plug that into my phone for the alarms, because I'll set my alarms for multiple times throughout the day to remember the lesson.
And yesterday, I actually really needed that one. I needed that one more than most anything. It was a hard day for me yesterday for very like personal reasons, and I can get into that later on in the show tonight or tomorrow or at some point. But honestly, it was so important for me to plug in these reminders because today, this lesson, I do not perceive my own best interests. It's so important because before we can learn a new program, we have to deprogram the old one. And right now, for so many of us, our old programs are that we perceive correctly, yet we don't even know the inner conflict that we ourselves are experiencing and thus projecting out onto the world. And so, for us to start deprogramming things that are keeping us from connection and keeping us from love and rather operating in a position of fear, because ultimately, I was having that conversation with someone I was in relationship with, rooted in fear, rooted in this insecurity of not feeling loved, and kind of like coming at it from this desire of ego, of like self-protection, but then also this desire to be loved and in community. And so I was myself at war with ego and love. Fear and love were at war with each other. And that was reflected in the transcript that ChatGPT mirrored back for me. And so often that's the case. We are in conflict with ourselves and we don't recognize the conflict until we take moments such as this to do the exercise that she's encouraging us to do, which is to close our eyes and ask ourselves, what is a moment of conflict or concern that is currently preoccupying my mind? And then what do I want from that? And then identifying where's their conflict with each other. And we don't have to do anything else besides that, other than saying at the end of it, I really don't perceive my own best interests. The whole point of us getting on every morning is to shift our lenses, to adjust the dials through which we see the world, and remember that, man, I want, and this is a question, if you don't want this might not be the best show for you to join. If you and I want to have a lens of love, we need to adjust our dials, because so often our dials are preset from the past, pain, inherited beliefs that are preventing us from seeing clearly the here and now. But there's a humility that needs to come with that. But it's both and it's duality, right? So there is duality in I want to be wanted and I want freedom. There's dual values there, but they are in conflict. And so it's like, okay, how do I allow for coexisting desires? What does that look like? How does that manifest in different relationships? So another duality is humility. I don't see clearly, and I'm going to listen to intuition and be confident in how I feel led. That's very conflicting. And so it's not one or the other, it's both and. And that for me, I distinctly remember this. The summer of 2021, when my husband was trying to decide if he wanted to leave or not, I was so confused because I didn't understand juxtaposition. I didn't understand how both things could coexist. I was like, he says he loves me. He says we have the best marriage out of anyone he knows. And he wants to leave. Like, he wants freedom and to go experience the grass that's greener on the other side. And it just my brain was not mature enough to compute both. And so sitting sometimes just with the discomfort of the conflict of two things, two opposing values, even, to sit and give honor and voice to both. Honestly, it's like learning how to exist with logic and emotion working in concert together, the left hemisphere and the right, not necessarily honoring one or the other, but just allowing both a voice. And then we ourselves make the decision about which one to employ, how much of what degree to employ both at whatever given circumstance. But first and foremost, it's sitting with, okay, what's the baseline? What do I think? What do I believe? What is going on? And then we can take the next step. So the definition of emotional intelligence is 2 parts. And the first part is effectively 3 steps. To become emotionally intelligent is to become aware, understand, and then express one's emotions. So it's like we have to first come into the point of awareness and then understanding. And then we can try to convey what's going on inside of us emotionally. And then the second half of that is to engage with others in interpersonal relationships with wisdom and with empathy. And that's the duality there. Empathy is, if we go way too much on the side of empathy, it turns often into codependence, where I'm only paying attention to you, void of self. But then if we are on the side of wisdom, sometimes it can actually err on the side of like too much truth, that we're beating somebody over the head with a hammer of truth, and there's no love there. And when there's no love there, often that truth is actually predicated in fear. So I just want to take a quick moment and jump into the chat. Just I'm on a couple different platforms. Con on Facebook, good to see you. Hard to please guy. Oh, stop. That's such a compliment. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Elizabeth. Good to see you. Real Turtle. That is very strange. Or Red Turtle. I'm sorry. I said real. No, Snowbeard. No, I'm not. Little Penny. Independence with a boundary and having a maturity to realize that a boundary is love, not prison. Hot dog. That's so good. I'm going to read that one more time because this is really good. Independence within a boundary and having a maturity to realize that a boundary is love, not prison. And I love that you actually said not prison, because actually the boundary is for us. It protects us and keeps us safe. Man, I just got chills you saying that, Lil Penny, because honestly, I think there have been times where boundaries have felt like prison. And often it's because the boundary that I've implemented is in reaction or in fear to other people, rather than rooted in this is actually what I need. And this is what's best for me. And this is love for me. And the overflow, the result of this boundary is love for others. So I'm so glad you said that. That's so, so, so wise. The Dread Pirate Rob, good to see you. You got to reset yourself sometimes, especially after relationships. Man, isn't that the truth? That's so, so good. Risk Sanchez, thanks for joining. Mac Nala, this is a good example of people that suffer from self-exposure. They think that everyone is looking at them. Ooh, I'm so glad you said that. Man, that's so good. I'm just thinking about that for a second. It's like when we become, kind of like what you were saying, Lil Penny, the goal of the boundary is rooted in love for ourselves, but the result of a boundary set by love is an overflow of love for other people. So it's like the overexposure of self there's a degree where it becomes unhealthy, to your point of like we become so aware of ourselves that it can end up being narcissistic. Whereas the second half of emotional intelligence is, now we go outward. The first half is being able to become aware of, understand, and express one's own emotions, and to interface with other people with empathy and with wisdom. So it's like we don't ever end with us. And I think that that's so, so important for us to really sit with and be aware of today as we move through the day. How am I doing? How can I love better? That's like the natural overflow. I think of it this way. Radical responsibility is my job to go inward. But then activating agency is taking everything I'm learning inside of me and then taking up agency on the external. It's like the flowing in and then flowing out. We can't love to the fullest externally if we're not filled with love to begin with. So really, it's our radical job to go inward first, and it's hard. Like, frankly, I've been getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep every week this week, which isn't ideal, and I'm excited to get into my habits now that I've traveled and done my bit here, and I'm going to stay put for at least 2 weeks. I'm excited to get good sleep, but I need to keep honoring my mornings. Like, that is a boundary, because I love better from that place of taking care of myself and filling my soul, so that what I'm giving then isn't from a place of depletion. Just coming back here to the chat. SQX, I probably should have started from the top and moved my way down. Delmar George, you said cognitive dissonance. I think that so often that's actually the case, is like, and you know what? Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up, because here's what's wild. This whole element of like being in conflict with ourselves, we are ourselves experiencing sometimes cognitive dissonance because we're not being honest. We're not actually taking the time to acknowledge, oh, there's dual values here that could very well be in conflict if I don't understand them and know how to employ them in different seasons of my life, in different relationships with people. And so then we start feeling this dissonance. Other people start feeling this dissonance because, well, yesterday she said this and today she's saying that. And that is so difficult to be in a relationship with people who do not know themselves, because we're going to be speaking out of both sides of our mouth. And then our families especially will start inevitably feeling like they're walking on eggshells because we haven't taken the time to tend to our own soul. So truly, it is for the good of everyone in our lives that we take time to do this. Christopher Adams, good morning. In terms of our best interest at heart, Romans 8:28 comes to mind. The world is, I don't know what that word is. Oh my gosh, that metaoitis is Greek for fleeting. Those who steward their time honoring the Lord, He works in us, His plan for us. I love, Christopher, I think you know by now, I love looking at the root word of kind of the English word that maybe we've actually put into a box that doesn't hold as much meaning. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this because I want to look into this later. I love that you just pulled out a Greek word. Awesome. I love that. Clarity Whistler, avoidance can feel like stability for years before it collapses. That's totally a mic drop moment. Avoidance can feel like stability for years before it collapses. I just got chills. Adrian on Facebook, I'm so glad to see you. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Kevin, good to see you. Bearby, a pagan jammy. Good to see you. I'm sorry I didn't say your name right. American flag, Kevin again, Vinny B. Good to see you this morning. Most people, this is by Clarity Whistler, most people spend their best cognitive years reacting instead of creating. Man, another mic drop moment. Y'all, please listen to this. I'm going to read that one more time. Most people spend their best cognitive years reacting instead of creating. Y'all, one of the things that we're talking about is like the overflow, the outpouring, the result of the work that we do. Creation so often is the result of a known soul, because we're accessing something original, something authentic, something that's not a replica of everything around us. Yes, inputs from books or movies or podcasts or thought leaders all come in and have an impact on us. But man, when we take the time to assume radical responsibility, to know who we are, why we're here, what we're called to do, how do we want to go about doing it, what are our values, what do we care about? Man, we start creating. Creating is another natural overflow and natural manifestation of authentic being. It's like we cannot help but create. And we're made in the image of the greatest creator. So it's natural. It's in our DNA to create. So I love that you brought that up, Clarity. Oh my gosh, Clarity Whistler. I am going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm sorry that I didn't start at the top. Kevin, you just asked, am I a dog person or a cat person? I might just make enemies right now. I grew up owning cats. My family, we would babysit dogs, and the dogs were the worst. They would like drool everywhere and only want our food and not be friendly, which is like the antithesis of what a dog should be. But then I got a puppy and I just fell in love with him. And then my sister's cat is so fun. So I think I'm both, which I know is not the conversation you'd want or the answer. Yaida. Good to see you. Suraj, letting go your ego. Part of your ego is what you identify with your network, your network. I'm going to read that again. Letting go your ego. Part of your ego is what you identify with, like your network. Oh, what a good perspective. It's so funny. I was just having a conversation with someone about this 3 days ago. Shout out to Henry Sims if he's nearby or anyone knows him. Henry and I were having a chat the other day on the phone, and we were talking about what we identify with. And part of this season of my life is I'm actually letting go of something that I have been identifying myself with. I didn't even intend to, but I've been traveling so much over the last 4 years. And frankly, it's been a part of my identity that was like really, it was so fun and so life giving and so healing. I really got to know myself in so many ways. So it's like, it wasn't, I think that this is interesting. So I'm just brainstorming and I want to hear your thoughts on this because I think you brought up such a good point. I think ego begins at the point of identity formation. So something that's really life-giving, something that's fun and genuinely bringing us joy, ego comes in and says, "Oh, that's who I am," and we start attaching ourselves to it. So, oh, maybe this is it. Ego begins at the point of attachment. And so once I begin attaching myself to something I do, someone I'm even with, like I've had this thought, like I hear people talking about, oh, I am this person's husband, or I am this person's wife, or I am a father. So even a beautiful, good, wholesome role that we're playing in life, if we're attaching our who we are and our value to being, so it's like attaching the value and intrinsic worth of our being to our doing. And I think that's where ego comes in. And ego kind of comes in and divides it. And actually, it's really, really dangerous. Where if we all of a sudden lose our spouse or lose a child, is our identity and worth going down the drain, or honestly, going down to the grave with them, which is that's that's such a hard conversation to have because there's so much pain wrapped up in it. I just know that, oh man, chills thinking about it. I know that when my sister lost her husband, it was like, ooh, she couldn't, it was like so much of her did die along with him. And who was she? Who was she on the other side of that? So maybe we'll talk about that tonight because that's a whole conversation. Um, that's hard. That's a really, really good point. And I just wanted to call that out. Um, Carol Goldberg, thank you. Oops. Sorry, guys. I was on my hotspot and my computer or my phone died. So sorry about that. I also do not have access to the chat anymore, which is such a bummer because I was loving our conversation. Let me see if I can resurrect the chat. I don't think I can. Well, sorry, guys. I'm going to go back and read the lesson one more time and then the exercises we're supposed to do today. Lesson 24, I do not perceive my own best interests. And again, the goal of this is that we start identifying the outcomes that we want in any situation that's upsetting to us, and then just paying attention to the outcomes that we say that we want that are in conflict with each other. So she writes here, in applying the idea for today, name each situation that occurs to you, and then enumerate carefully as many goals as possible that you would like to be met in its resolution. The form of each application should be roughly as follows. In the situation involving blank, I would like blank to happen and blank to happen, and so on. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as may honestly occur to you, even if some of them do not appear to be directly related to the situation or even to be inherent in it at all. So what I'm going to do, y'all, is I am going to, and then at the end of it, at the end of that 2 minute, we're supposed to do 2 minute practice periods 5 times a day. And then at the end of that, after we go through that process, we are supposed to say, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation, and then go on to the next one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alarm for 5 times today. And actually, right when I hop off, I've got 2 hours set aside this morning for working out in vertical alignment. And I'm actually going to go and journal on this exercise because frankly, I think it's really, really important that we ask this question of, what do I want from this thing that's upsetting me? What would be the ideal if I could create, wave a magic wand and make it exactly what I want? What is that? Do I even know what would ideally want in this situation to begin with? And then concluding it with, I do not perceive my own best interest in the situation. So I'm going to sit down and journal about that pretty soon. And y'all, I've found that just by letting things come out and free flow writing rather than assigning any kind of judgment over what I see, once we start judging, our access to our subconscious mind breaks down. We actually can't access kind of the deeper parts of us once we include judgment. So as much as possible, the goal would be to just be curious over what we write and to not even stop writing until we literally can't think of anything else or until nothing's coming up anymore. Because if we stop and analyze it, usually analysis and judgment are hand in hand. So curiously, just write as much as possible. And again, it's what's the circumstance that feels upsetting to you? What do you want the ideal outcome? I wish this would happen. I wish that. I wish that. I wish that. And just keep going. And then once you're done that, say the phrase, I do not perceive my own best interest in this situation, and then go to the next circumstance. What's upsetting for you? And then what do you wish? I wish, I wish, I wish. And that even, I've actually done that at a couple retreats. For those of you who have attended retreats, I may have done this exercise with you where we actually write down in relationship to circumstances or even people who have really hurt us, what would be the I wish? What would have been the outcome that you would have wanted, that you would have pursued? And sometimes, again, those wishes come in conflict with each other. But once we pour it out, then we can do something with it. And then again, at the end, we conclude with this lesson 24. I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation. So with that, I don't have access to my chat anymore because I lost my Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, but thank you all so much. I loved our conversation today. So many really, really meaningful points. And I'll be going live again tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And I will be seeing you then.